I'd like to call this meeting of the Tyler County Board of Education to order. The mission of Tyler County Schools is to provide student-centered learning opportunities that ensure all students will learn to their potential and master the skills, ethical behaviors, and attitudes needed to be successful citizens in a 21st century economy. Please stand for a moment of silence in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is roll call. All board members are present and Mr. Hiley is also present. Superintendent Hiley is present. I will now be turning the meeting over to Mr. Hiley.
Okay, under C, the minutes from the 21st continuing and regular meeting have been approved by the State Department. D, we have no presentations. Under E, we do have one delegation, Ms. Kelly Myers. She's representing herself, and her topic is the school levy. Just remember, Ms. Myers, you have 5 minutes. I'm going to start that timer when you start.
Okay. I'm here to speak in favor of the excess levy. I want to thank the board and Tyler County Schools for placing a provision in the excess levy allowing for the board to lower the excess levy rate if there should be another excessive anomaly year like the one in 2025. I also want to thank Mr. Lancaster for giving us such a precise and clear understanding of how the levy, excess levy, and school budget work in relationship to the state aid formula. I want to repeat and make it clear to those who are still confused and possibly spreading misinformation, Tyler County Schools do not get any state aid money, even if the excess levy fails. The state aid formula is based on a county's assessed property values, which are not controlled by the school system. If the excess levy does not pass, Tyler County will not have enough money to run its schools. Program cuts, benefit cuts, and loss of teaching positions will have to happen. These cuts will more than likely begin with the cutting of employee benefits and incentives. The three largest incentives are academic coaching pays, our medical benefit card, and eye/dental insurance. These cuts will be across the board and equate to about a $6,000 a year loss from every employee in the county, from service personnel to professional. Without these benefits and incentives, we can no longer attract highly qualified individuals to work in our school system. Our teachers are already being actively recruited by our surrounding counties. Without the excess levy, we will lose teachers and service personnel to those neighboring counties. We will end up with larger class sizes with less qualified educators teaching your children. My end game, along with Tyler County Schools, is always the children. The big losers in all of this will be our students if the levy does not pass. The programs for our children that are supported by the excess levy are listed on the Tyler County School Facebook page. Take the time to read over that list. Take the time to watch Jeff Lancaster's breakdown of the budget on YouTube. Just please take the time to know the facts. After doing some research, I discovered that the top 10 levy taxpayers are Antero, Momentum, Antero, 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 and I'm sure you guessed it, Antero. Those top 10 account for over $4 million in levy money. And that is just the top 10. The list continues on with mostly Antero for pages. If the levy does not pass, all of that oil and gas money leaves Tyler County. Not only does it leave Tyler County, but it leaves West Virginia. I'm tired of West Virginia's natural resources benefiting everyone but West Virginia. If the levy does not pass, Antero will be the big winner. I I also want to emphasize that your tax rate is not going to change with the excess levy. It is exactly the same as it has been for decades. The only change is that a provision was added that allows the school board to vote to lower the rate if we have an excessive year. That is a win for everyone. The school is guaranteed its funding needs are met, and when the excess levy exceeds that amount, the rate can be lowered. There is currently a lot of fear-mongering and misinformation being spread on signs, in articles, and on papers that are even being left in gas stations. I want to clarify that the state does not mandate the use of levy money. I also want to clarify that the state does not appoint our board members. You, the people of Tyler County, elect your school board members. And I guarantee that Tyler County schools do not neglect to disclose any part of its budget to the public. In conclusion, I'm asking the people of Tyler County to vote yes on the excess levy. Remember that the heart of a school community is its school system. Please do not allow our children, school system, and community to be the big loser. Please vote yes for the excess levy.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. Okay, that's all the delegations we have this evening. Under communications, there was a summer food service program news release. That'll be going out in the papers, and you all received it in the packets. Just saying that we will be providing summer meals again here in Tyler County. Working with the FRNs, I'm sure we'll be delivering some of those meals to some of the higher need places like we have also in the past. So we're excited for that to happen. So just real quick, I have under Superintendent's report, I have a couple things I want to go over. The first one, I told you last time that I would talk to you about some things in the legislature that passed this year. So the 2026 legislative session. I borrowed this presentation from another superintendent at a WVASA conference. It was pretty good. So this has to do with employment at the age of 18 for apprenticeships, Workforce Development Act of 2026. So it aligns and clarifies child labor laws and age requirements for apprenticeships. That really has to do with our CTE programs and our MAVTI and Wetzel Tech that we work with. So the purpose of this bill is to continue investigations and allegations that school personnel have jeopardizing the health, safety, or welfare of a student after the school personnel obtains another job or transfers to another school. So if there's something going on, an employee is under investigation and they up and move to another county before that investigation is over, there's a place where we put these allegations. There's a website now. So counties can go to that website and see if there's anything that an employee may have that's pending out there that would involve them in an investigation of wrongdoing. So really just to keep kids safe. So that's House Bill 4395. House Bill 4425, that is the transfer rule. So what the new transfer, what it says is, in House Bill 4425 is that control goes back to the WVA-SSAC. They had taken it away before. Now they've given that rule back to the SSAC. And what the SSAC, I believe, has come up with is in the junior and senior year of your high school career, you cannot transfer schools without penalty. Of course, if you would move to that district or that area, then there would be no issues. But if you transfer from school to another school your junior or senior year, there has to be a period of time in which you set out, which in the past has been a calendar year. So that's the new rule moving forward. House Bill 4765 was a 3% pay raise across the board. Please know that when the state gives a pay raise, they don't give us that money. That's our money now, since we don't get state aid that we have to pay for that raise, which we don't mind. We wish we could pay them lots more. This is an interesting one. House Bill 4798, permitting teachers to wear a mobile alert button for emergency situations, to be known as Alyssa's Law. And what this is, and we've been in contact with some companies that provide these buttons. It's literally just that. They wear a lanyard with a button. That button will signal if if there's an issue, and that will, some systems it goes to your phone, goes to your computer, goes to your email. So creates funds through Homeland Security for the purchasing of devices. We haven't seen any of that money yet, but we are, by law, we have to look into this. So Mrs. Kimball is the one who's been really looking into it under the safety aspect of our schools. So that's an interesting bill. 4982. This is kind of going back to the what was it called? What was it called before? Like healthy West Virginia or healthy lifestyles or something like that. It's really going back to. I was thinking of the fitness gram. It's really going back to making sure that we're doing healthy things in our schools for kids. It was in place, then it was taken away. Now it's put back in place.
It's
So.
a different jurisdiction. It doesn't fall under the Department of Ed. It's the Office of Healthy Lifestyles.
That's what I was looking for.
Funded through-
The Office of Healthy Lifestyles. So yes, that's what this is. This 4995. This was one of those ones that had a lot more in it that they kept changing over a period of time. We have video cameras in our special needs rooms right now. This is just kind of the same thing. Ms. Walton, you got anything else?
You have to do it it was 90 days, now it's 30 days.
Now you have to do it every 30 days. It used to be 90 days.
Then I do it, I don't have principals.
Right. So what you can do is have a designee, which is Mrs. Walton, or principals have to check that every so often. Has to have audio and it has to have video in those special needs classrooms. Some more there. This had to do with relating to the bail in cases involving terroristic threats to schools and children. What it says is it could be a felony, but it also says if someone makes a terroristic threat, the court can establish a resident or accept it. You don't have to accept employment within 1,000 feet of the location of the place where the violence was threatened to occur throughout. So they can't be, like if you're in a city and you make a threat to a school, you can't work at the businesses next to that now. That's pretty much what it says. You can't be within so many feet of that school moving forward, which is good. This is a big one. House Bill 4999 relates to the crimes against athletic officials. So, like I was at a summer league game not too long ago, and one of the coaches from one of the summer league teams followed the official off the floor, and I asked that official. I said, "Is that part of the new rule?" And yeah, it is. You can be charged for battery and assault for following an official off the floor as a coach. So there's more details to this in the policy, but it's just safeguarding officials from parents and spectators and student athletes.
I just went to that training on that, and I think there can be a monetary fine also.
Yeah. Also, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, so this is big for school systems. So House Bill 5012. Providing for in-year school personnel movements to meet school needs. So, in the past, when school started, you weren't able to move people around if you had a need. So now what this is saying is if you have an influx of kids who come in, within, I think it's the first 2 months of school, and you need to move someone, you can. That shifts the responsibilities in that work assignment. So we can do that as a school system now. Which is different than right there. That may occur not after the last day of the second month. So say we have a family of 8 move in and it's a set of quadruplets and it's in 4th grade and we can only have 2 more 4th graders, but we have room we have them teaching in another school that we can move because there's not a need for her. That's what this says we can do without any issues.
That's good.
This has to do with foster students being able to make sure that when they're in temporary placement that they have the ability to have at least virtual instruction. Just some more stuff with transcripts, public transcripts. So what this does is House Bill 5438, requires unused third grade Success Act funds to be reallocated, and you can expand that to, and they expanded that to science of reading support to 5th grade. So it just allows us to move that money that was allocated to the third grade Success Act to a different line item to use if we do not use it all. Summer employment, more about that. They're trying to create a career readiness program to provide paid employment, apprenticeships, internships for the youth statewide. I think it's a great idea, and I hope it works because our kids need jobs. This has to do with Hope Scholarship. We do pay Hope Scholarship, and just know that we receive no state aid, so we pay those Hope Scholarships from here. What that says is, used to be you would get it yearly. Now I believe you can get it quarterly. Get those payments instead of yearly. This really has nothing to do with us, but I think it's pretty interesting. So, like, the state is having a lot of consolidations and based on rural schools. And what this says is that that county can create a charter school. I was thinking of like Harmon or something like that. You know, they were trying to close that school over there. That they could create a charter school, and the governing board of that charter school would be the 5 county board members of that county. And then 2 members will be selected by the county superintendent. So closure and right of first refusal just to all charter schools. So if you close the school, the county, it can be opened back up as a charter school, and the governing body of that would be the Board of Education. Kind of interesting. Senate Bill 155. What this says is that adjunct teachers can be used if a vacancy exists and no certified individuals has applied or is available. For a term shall be 1 year. Mentoring requirements. So what that's saying is, if they're under permit, we can hire them as a full-time teacher for a year, with mentoring and other experiences related in the field. This is an interesting one. Bus safety, Senate Bill 558, relating to school bus safety violations for vehicle operators. What this was is it stiffened the fines for running stop signs, bus stop signs. But the governor did veto that bill. No idea why. You go figure. I don't know. So what this is, Senate Bill 694 is, in state code it said that you had to live within 1 county of the county you are superintendent in. What this does is it allows counties to take that out of their policy, and you can hire a superintendent who lives 5 counties away if you want. But that all is in the hands of the local Board of Education. So if they want to keep that in their policy, that they want the superintendent to live within or an adjacent county, they can do that. But this gives you the provision not to have to do that anymore. So this is the big one, and this is going to be a hard thing to maneuver through. So we're changing. Senate Bill 890 removes the 180-day requirement and replaces with 900 instructional hours for students. Okay, so it's doesn't have to be 180 days. There's no magic number now as per days. It's time, it's minutes. So in hours. So 900 instructional hours. Tyler County schools go to school a longer day than most schools do already. And I think if we did the math right, if we took our day that we have now and just did it, how many days that would be, it was 144 days. So that's not what we want to do. We don't want to go to school for 144 days. That's not what we want to do. But it's going to give us greater flexibility in scheduling professional development, greater flexibility when we start school, when we end school, when we can have breaks, when we cannot have breaks. But the caveat is it did not remove the 200-day employment contract of professionals. So they will still have to work the 200-day contract. At the beginning, there was hours for them too that they were converting it over to, but it's still the 200-day. They took that out.
So we have to do this because someone told me they thought that you had the option that you could either leave it the 180 days or convert to the instructional hours.
No, we have to go to 900 hours, but that's not saying you have to just go 900 hours. So you can keep 180 days if that's what the county would decide. You want to stay at 180 days and go to school 180 days. That may look different. Or you may say, well, let's do 175 because we have enough minutes, and let's add 5 more days of instructional development for our teachers. Or we want to say, let's have a longer spring break. You know what I'm saying? So those kind of things, the flexibility, there was no flexibility in a school calendar now.
Right.
This gives you flexibility, which is a beautiful thing for counties. But it's going to be very hard. We were talking earlier. We're part of MOVTI, which is a county system, a multi-county system for VOTEC. And then we also partner with Wetzel Tech. So it's going to be hard to change the calendars even too much because we got to have the same calendar they do pretty much. Right now we have a few differences, but this is an interesting bill, and I think I've heard counties wanting to go to 4-day weeks. I don't think that's a super great idea. I've heard of just all different kinds of setups that counties are thinking about, but I personally think in the end school will still look like school looks. There'll be a few things we can change there. Interesting bill here. Permitting teachers to be certified to work as school principals. The purpose of this bill is to permit teachers with 15 years of experience at an elementary, high school, or middle school level to be certified to be a principal at the levels they have taught for the minimum of 15 years. The WVE will develop the process. That's still in process, so that's nothing that's been agreed upon now yet. This redefines long-term substitutes. That's more from Mrs. Feldmeyer. Sorry. So bills that did not cross the finish line. These are some of the bills that were out there that were kind of important. They were really important. And I don't know if you guys watched the last day of the legislative session, but there was a lot of filibustering going on, trying to get to midnight. And these are the bills that did not cross the finish line. House Bill 5453 to modify the school aid funding formula. Never got voted on. Increasing each school district's basic foundation program. Didn't make it across the finish line. This was special education funding, Senate Bill 437. State Fair Aid Formula Act of 2026. Didn't make it across the finish line. Removing physical education requirements for middle and high school student athletes. Did not get passed. Senate Bill 1044 requiring Board of Education to set forth common graduation requirements across the state because there are different ones as far as how many hours counties say that you have to have to graduate. There's a state minimum, but some counties require more. So that's kind of where we are at the legislative update. Not a lot of bills. I mean, I've seen these slideshows be like 80 pages before. But if you have any questions about legislation, please give me a call. I try to stay up on where we're at, what we're doing. A lot of these bills that go into effect after signed by the governor, like for instance the SSAC rule, it goes into effect June 11th. So after June 11th, June 12th, if a junior moves to a different school and still lives in one district, they have to set out their allotted time. So that's kind of one thing you got to look at too. Like, when do these take effect? Like the hours from days, it doesn't take effect till next year, 2027 school year. So a lot of these will take effect mid-June or July. So like I said, I'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of this. I'll put it up so people can have on our website too. The other thing under Superintendent's report I wanted to talk about just real quick is, as Ms. Myers said, as Tyler County Superintendent, I feel I need to clear up some misinformation being put out about the excess levy. The first piece of information that's out there says if the levy fails, there will be no cuts. That is untrue. There will have to be cuts. So on average, our operating budget for the past 2 years has been roughly $34 million. And that does not include the increase in PEIA employer costs and the raise the state has given, which we are responsible for, or emergency capital project repairs. A roof's leaking, HVAC system goes down. The regular levy, which is separate from the excess levy, provides us about $16.4 million next year. And our federal dollars, we get about $2 million a year, about $1 million for food and about $1 million for special ed and Title I services. Those are pretty much the food. We know, we had a nice thing out today about that. That only covers a portion of the cost of feeding our kids. So we put out the other part as local share to make sure that they get free breakfast and free lunch. Federal programs, we have interventionists and we have summer school in each of our elementary schools that are Title I schools. That eats up the majority of that money that we get from those federal programs. Most of it meaning we have a few $1,000s left after we pay salaries. So after that, so that's about, with receiving without receiving state aid, about what we would have would be about an $18 million hole if the excess levy would not pass. Meaning we would have to figure out a way to whittle our budget down $18 million. And we are not a county that is over the formula by a lot of service or professional. I think you've seen those graphs. Mr. Lancaster put those out there for you. We do have, this is true, we do have about $35 million in contingency. But over a 5-year period, that money would not cover the whole left if we did not have an excess levy. I mean, you can do that math. So again, in order to balance a budget, if we would not have an excess levy, we would have to fill an $18 million hole. And so the analogy I kind of like to say is, if you're married, you and your spouse both have a job, right? So we have a regular levy, we have an excess levy. Husband and wife both have a good job. Somebody loses their job. Are you going to have to change the way you live your life? Absolutely, you're going to have to change the way you live your life. And that's kind of what the school system is like without an excess levy. So in the levy, the levy cost states school resource officers in every school, nurses in every school, social workers, activity buses, free breakfast and lunch. It would affect our local libraries. In the levy, it states we give $60,000 a year to our local libraries. That's a big chunk of money. WVU Extension, and many, many other things. But, that levy call is out, it goes out on public reading. You can read what's in that levy call. Then another thing that I think that I need to clear up, is as far as the tax burden goes for most of our citizens in Tyler County, that they fall under Class 2 properties. And Class 2 properties provides less than 10% of the total revenue we receive for our excess levy. And we have put language in place, that's what our new levy call says, we put language in place that the board has the ability to reduce that levy rate if we're to have another spike in assessed values in the future. So a couple other things that I've heard. This levy does not take the place of the levy that's in place now. We will finish the levy which is in place till 2028, and then this new levy would run 5 years past that. So a couple of the things that I've heard is like, well, why are you running it so early? Well, we're running it early because personnel season happens before the election would happen. So in order to make sure that we have enough money to pay for what we have, we would have to start making cuts. If the levy would fail, we would have to start making cuts before we were able to run that levy again. So that's why it's important that we run it right now. It's not to try to pull the wool over people's eyes or not to try to slip it in a special election. We have to run it during a regular election. Those are only there at certain times. And So that's the reason. That's why we have to run it right now. We could not do it right now. We could have not done it right now. Then we would really be in a pickle if we ran it and it failed and we didn't make cuts that we needed to make. Then we would be in the red, and we don't want to be in the red as a county. We gotta be stewards of the taxpayer dollars and know what we have to work with. So the other thing that I think I need to clear up that I've heard around the community is, I've heard, we're going to build this sports complex with this excess levy, and we're going to build this, and we're going to build that. The school system has a CEFP, which says what we can do and what we can build over the next 10 years, okay? So we can't do anything outside of that CEFP unless we get approved to do so. So we can't just say, oh, great, we got the excess levy, now we can build whatever we want. That's not the case. So in order to build this new elementary school, if you guys remember correctly, we had to go back in front of the state and revise our CEFP because it did not have anything in there about an elementary school. But we thought, hey, we can set the county up for the next 50 years with school buildings. Let's do it now. So we had to amend our CEFP, and we did that the appropriate way. And moving forward, that's, we'll have to follow that CEFP. That's a 10-year program of what you're going to do in your school systems as far as capital improvements and things like that. And then a couple other things, I've read or seen out there that I just want to make sure that the public has the true information about the levy is the State Department has not appointed its own board in Tyler County. When placed under state control, the state superintendent of schools is the one in charge of all decisions in the county. There's no board at the State Department that takes care of that. Michelle Blatt is the one who approves everything that happens in our school system right now. If there are any questions about why we are under a state, control, just Google Tyler County Schools Special Circumstances Review. It will give you the details, the reasons for the takeover. So the one last thing that I want to say is, to me, and I think I've said this before, the levy is not all about money, all right? This is about creating opportunities for our kids to be successful and to have opportunities that kids in other parts of the states don't have. But we have the funds and the resources to provide that to our kids. And if you look out there, we have one of the best bands in the state. We have one of the best FFA programs in the state. We are a top 10 school district in the state, and I would argue that we are the #1 rural school district in the state year in and year out if you look at those test scores. Okay? So, and that's for the past 10 years. So we are providing our kids with the opportunity to be great. And that excess levy is what has provided that opportunity in this county. Are we grateful? Absolutely, we are 100% grateful for those taxes and those dollars. And I feel like I can speak for the rest of the school system. We've been good stewards of the money and tried to really think through what is best, not for adults, not for people in the public, but for the kids, because that's the reason that we're all here. It's because we're trying to make this generation who is in school prosperous, citizens of a world that is crazy. And we can provide that opportunity here because of what we have. So I just felt it was important that I kind of go over that misinformation. And, I can't tell you how to vote. I can't tell you where to go vote, when to vote, who to vote for, what to vote for. But I just feel like people need to know the truth. And if there are any questions about anybody who's listening, if there are any questions about the levy, call us. Call myself. Call the board office. Jeff Langster's a wealth of information. I've become a wealth of information because I've been dealing with it so much. But just call. We'll inform you of what you want to know. So that's kind of that. And then under project updates, Tyler Consolidated Elementary School. If you've seen, they were starting to dig on the hill. We were removing some trees. Not removing trees. Can't remove trees after 31st of March. We are burning. We have our burn sites now where the trees have already been cut. So there are no trees being removed. So we're not messing with any bats right now. Tyler Consolidated, it's we're still in the in the phase of, moving earth. You'll start seeing some more earth moved quickly. They did, I don't know if you drove by today, but the old house and barn have been torn down. So that's kind of, I think we did save some wood off the barn, so maybe it'll show up somewhere in the elementary school when we build it. So, then the other big one right now is for us in transportation is an update on Indian Creek Road. It's in horrible shape as far as the one part where the slip is. We can't take our buses up there, so we've had to make alternative routes for those kids, and it's really time consuming for those kids that live up there, and the residents up there, I'm sure, are just as frustrated because every time you go up there, that road slips further and further over the hill. Before long, there's not going to be one, and I can tell you that with certainty that in the beginning it was who's going to pay for the fix. So I think there was some bantering going back between Big Oil about who's going to fix the road. I think they do have a plan for that now, but I'm hearing, my last update was to start on it early summer and fix it throughout the summer. So we're definitely going to be using that alternative route for our buses until then. It's not a good plan, and I'm just very hopeful that they have it fixed by the time school starts, because it is we could run a bus through there, but it's not safe. It's not safe at all. So parents have been great up there making arrangements to change stops and change times, and transportation director has done the same with our bus fleet, and our bus drivers have been very, very good at making those changes to fix that. Under curricular update, we do have our professional development bid proposal acceptance. Education System Solutions, LLC, for the price of $42,000. And this company will provide our teachers and staff with professional development. We feel good. We've had them for a couple years now. We like the product that they give us. They've helped us a lot with scheduling, special education issues, and things like that. And we like them a lot because they're from West Virginia. They understand West Virginia people, and they understand West Virginia kids. That's a big deal. You could get a company in here from outside that, they may not understand what kids in West Virginia go through. But this company understands, and we're very happy with their service that they provide us. So we were excited that they were the low bid on providing our professional development. Anything under committee reports? Nope.
No, I didn't have one this time.
Okay. Staff reports, nothing. Mr. Lancaster, you're up. Approval of the preliminary budget for the 26-27 school year.
Okay. I will be brief tonight. Just a week ago, we spent an hour going over the budget. That's available on YouTube. The state has approved our preliminary budget. I'm going to go over just a few things there. You have some information in front of you. I'm just going to go from that. I do want you to know that the next step would be that it's published in the newspaper for 2 weeks, and then on May 18th, I believe, will be the public hearing and the adoption of the final budget. Because we're under state control, I had to submit our budget early, so the state's already reviewing that budget. I don't expect any problems there. If there are, I'll keep you all aware of that. But really, this 2-page document here, it's the same thing that's published in the newspaper. But I'm going to skip. We really have 2 funds, so I'm going to skip to the second page first. We have 2 funds this year. There wasn't enough revenue. With the drop in revenue of over $80 million over the past 2 years, there wasn't enough revenue to set some money aside in our capital projects fund like we've done in the past. So we have two funds. We have a special revenue fund, and that's, Mr. Hiley just talked about a little bit, your Title I, your Title II, your IDEA funds for special education, those federal grants. These are restricted projects. So the revenue we receive, there's expenses down below that. You'll see that. So just to point that out, those programs I was talking about, Title I, Title II, IDEA, represent almost $1 million, $855,540 in our budget next year. And then the other federal dollars that we're receiving is the $960,000 that we are receiving for the federal share of our child nutrition program. So just to point out, we're receiving $960,000, but if you go on down, midway down the page there, you'll see food services. The cost is $1.8 million. So we're receiving $960,000, but there is a local share of $960,000 that we're kicking in from that, and that's through the excess levy. I'm sorry, $845,000 the local share. And so your total Fund 61 revenue and expenditures is, your expenditures is $2.9 million, $2,866,000, 313. That's the amount of your federal restricted projects. What we really want to talk about is Fund 11, which is our unrestricted budget. And just to point out a few things here, our total budget, and I am required to have a balanced budget. We have roughly $41.6 million is our budget this year in our unrestricted fund. Of that $41.6 million, $36 million of that come from taxes. Of that $36 million that we receive, that's split $16.4 million for the regular levy, which every county in the state has. $16.4 million, that's 39% of our total budget comes from our regular levy. 47% of our budget comes from the excess levy next year. So 47% of our budget, or $19.6 million, is what we would lose if the excess levy isn't passed. If next year it's going to be there, it's already been approved. But if we didn't have that excess levy, that would be the whole $19.6 million of excess levy funds that we would have to come up with there. So I'll come back to that in a second. You do see an amount on here, and I talked about this in detail in a week ago, but you do see an amount on here for state aid to schools. It says $4.3 million state aid to schools. There's a difference between we don't receive state aid. We do receive some state aid. We don't receive unrestricted state aid. This $4.3 million is money in, money out. In reality, we don't even see it. It doesn't get deposited in our bank accounts. It is sent on our behalf, and I'm required to budget it. So that $4.3 million includes $2 million for PEIA, for the employer share of PEIA, sent over on our behalf. Retirement is $600,000. It's sent over on our behalf. Unfunded retirement is a big thing the legislature did to catch this state up, and they've done a great job with that. With our people, our teachers' retirement system was underfunded, and they've really been putting some money into there. I have to budget for it. We don't get to spend it. It's sent over on our behalf. So that's another $1.7 million on top of that. That's the federal, or that's the state allocations that we are receiving. We are receiving no unrestricted state aid. That's not going to change whether we have an excess levy or not. It has to do with assessed property values. So again, I just want to point out one more thing. We'll go back to that regular levy, which represents 39% of our budget. That's $16.4 million. You go down to the bottom there, those last two numbers, or a couple up before that, $38.5 million is our budgeted expenses this coming year. $38.5 million. It would be irresponsible, unprofessional of me to tell you as a board that there would be no cuts. We have $16.4 million in regular levy. That's what we would have. Nothing else, other than you'll have your interest, you'll have your little bit of state grants. They're already spoken for, but you won't have that $19.6 million in excess levy funds. So if you don't have that, and your expenses right now, and it's not frivolous expenditures, it's $38.5 million, how do you balance a budget, which we're required to do? It is irresponsible of me to tell you that there will be no cuts. It just can't happen. So we have to prepare ourselves for that. It will not be fun to be a treasurer. It will not be fun to be a board member if we don't have those excess levy funds to operate in this county. 43 counties in the state of West Virginia have an excess levy. They have that for a reason. It is almost impossible to balance a budget and run a school system that's effective without that additional help. So we have a balanced budget. It's been approved preliminarily by the state, and you have it in front of you, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Minister.
Under policy review, we have nothing at this meeting. Athletic schedules, those were in your packets for middle school football, high school football, and high school volleyball for the 26-27 school year. Under O, these trips have been approved by the state. Mainly, the school system funds a lot of field trips now. Those are the kind of things, I hate to keep coming back to, but those are the kind of things that the excess levy also allows us to do, is to send our kids and have those experiences with real trips and things like that. Other requests, we had some cross-county lines. Under personnel, have a couple recommendations to accept the following personnel actions. Under resignations, Amanda Gist resigns her position as student council advisor effective June 30th, 2026. B, Jan Smitley resigns her position as school nurse effective April 16th, 2026. And C, Zach Heasley resigns from his position as special education teacher, assistant football coach, and assistant baseball coach at Tyler Consolidated effective May 4th. Employments and decisions. A lot of these are our summer school teachers. As you know, we provide summer school for our elementary, middle, and high school. So these are those positions to be funded for summer. Also, then you'll see there that we have our one transfer there, Shayla Schroderman, as a 4th grade teacher at Sistersville Elementary School to 3rd grade teacher at AIB Borman. That will be effective the 26-27 school year. And then the last 3 there are summer cooks and summer secretaries that we will have this summer. Other than that, I'd like to, we had the bills approved by the State Department, and the next regular meeting will be Monday.
I have a question
Yes.
for Mr. Lancaster.
Yes.
Because of these different other trainings that we've gone through on the fiscal thing. You put together the gym expansion project?
Yes.
And thank you, it's like 17 million. Was that restricted or unrestricted money?
That would have been unrestricted funds.
Okay.
It would have been unrestricted funds transferred to the capital projects fund.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
Okay, so the next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held Monday, May 18th at 7 o'clock here at the Tyler County Board of Education. And it is 7:48. This meeting is adjourned.